This is from Vice. Here's why the trees on your street smell like semen. You know the smell.
God.
And this is funny. It says you know the smell. I actually don't know the smell of cum.
I know the smell, but I couldn't describe it to you. Like I know it, but I couldn't. Like there's a dampness. Kind of smells like a basement.
I know the smell of anal sex. This is Feel Good Friday episode 122, and it's July 22nd, 2022.
Oh my God. Whoa.
You know what that means?
That's crazy.
It probably means that today might be the end of the world.
Huh. Never thought of that.
It's an angel number, right? What's let's look that up.
That's
what is
8888.
22.
You know how I think we should start the show? I think that we should
Angel
each read our horoscopes.
Okay.
What do you think?
Here we go. 2222 meaning. This is the complete meaning of the mirror hour 2222. Discover what this double hour means right now. Significance 22 with guardian angels. An interpretation of 2222 with the guardian angels shows that you are going to do great things. This is going to be a great episode, guys.
Isn't it crazy how easy it is for somebody to just make something up?
You have the necessary patience and humility, but at the moment you are lacking recognition. Okay, so we don't have much recognition during this episode, but we do have some humility.
Wow.
Your perseverance will allow you to become a role model in your field. Ooh, we're going to set a good example for our listeners today.
Wait,
you're going to command respect through your determination and your strong work ethic. Good
Is this
thing
like-
I put this episode together 10 minutes
Thanks
ago.
for fully making that up.
Wait, is this a number horoscope? Basically a horoscope for a number?
Yeah, angel numbers.
I'm just looking at angel numbers right here, and there's
Oh my God.
there's 111, 222, 333,
Yep.
and so on to 999.
Yep.
And each one has a different sort of like attribute to them.
Yes.
So like 1 is intuition, 2 is alignment,
alignment.
3 is support. So this is the day of alignment.
This is the ultra alignment episode.
We're so aligned right now.
Dude, so aligned. So aligned.
Ow,
So
ow,
aligned.
ow.
We just said that at
So
the exact
aligned.
same time.
You and I, same wavelength.
Aligned.
Same line.
Well, let's talk about angels, shall we?
Really?
And by angels, I mean death. The angels of death, raining from the sky. Did you guys hear this recent study that just came out from some scientists that death from falling rocket debris is highly unlikely, but that is changing.
No.
Okay. What's the definition of changing?
Changing because there's more rocket debris in the sky, and now the chances are getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Last year there was 0. This year there was 1.
Yeah. So this is a really great place to talk about relative risk versus absolute risk. It's like your absolute risk is still 0, but your relative risk has risen by like 50%.
Well, how about this? If you were to take a guess what the number now sits, the percentage of a chance of 1 or more casualty from a falling rocket part in the next decade, what do you think? What do you think that percentage is?
Oh, it's probably pretty high.
Yeah, right. So we're talking
Of
about the
one
percentage that
casualty.
one person will die or be injured
Out of
by falling rocket debris.
out of like the total amount of people in the next decade, which is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40 billion people that will live from now until the end of the next decade, that will like be born and die.
Yeah, I would say the
That means it's 1 in
percentage
40
chance
billion?
is close to 100%.
That's a little high. This is coming from Stina on our Discord. Thank you, Stina. Sorry, kids, but when you're wishing on a falling star, those flashing streaks in the sky at night might actually be flaming rocket parts. And as new research suggests, some of those flaming rocket parts could be headed in your general direction. Scientists say there's a growing likelihood that raining rocket parts could cause injury or harm to people down here on Earth, though it is still extremely unlikely that you'll receive a rocket fuselage to the face when staring up at the stars.
What's the odds?
Researchers are calling on the world's spacefaring nations to consider controlled reentries for spaceship components left floating in low Earth orbit. In a Nature Communications paper released today, Canada-based researchers say that there is a 10% chance of 1 or more casualties from falling rocket parts in the next decade based on data extrapolated from publicly released reports. The strong possibility that these rocket parts are more likely to land in the global south means that most spacefaring nations and private companies are effectively exporting risk to the rest of the world, especially the southern part of the globe, as scientists write their study.
Not that much risk.
I mean, I get that it's something that we should definitely like think about and be aware of.
Oh,
because
for
it's
sure,
for
dude.
sure. Obviously, think about it because you don't want anybody to. I mean, ideally, nobody dies. Hopefully,
It would be
but we are talking like we're talking 0.00000. I think if it was a 1 in 40 billion. I'm guessing with 40. I'm guessing around 40 billion people, something in that neighborhood, maybe. Like you're talking 0.00000000001%.
Yeah, but to that person who does die, to their family,
it's 100% shit.
yeah, it
Yeah.
sucks.
You're right. You're
Fucking
right.
sucks.
So
So
what
we should do lockdowns. We need lockdowns. That's the only way to solve this.
Oh my
The
God.
only way to prevent that family from suffering is to lock everybody down, stay inside,
Yeah.
and
For 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
at least for now it's 2 weeks. But
So-
in 2 weeks it could be 10 years because that is over a decade. So
Oh my
should be
God.
careful.
So what is the likelihood that parts of rockets might fall on areas occupied by humans? Well, more nations and private companies are putting rockets into space, which means more decoupled parts are hanging out in orbit. There were 133 successful launch attempts in 2021, a new world record. And we're looking to smash that record this year in 2022. According to the report, more than 60% of launches abandon rocket bodies in orbit, where they're left circling the Earth for days, months, or sometimes years. Prior research shows that less than 50% of the Earth that isn't permanently covered in ice has remained relatively uninhabited and untouched by humans. But as the new research shows, there's still a chance that rocket parts can hit populated centers. The team used data on average orbit angles and population statistics at different latitudes to show there's a curve in the likelihood for parts to crash at locations with at least some human habitation. And since so many of these launches take place near the equator, there's a higher risk for developing nations in the southern hemisphere. Scientists noted cities like Jakarta, Mexico City, that's a big one, Lagos,
Jakarta is gigantic
Yep.
as well.
are 3 times more likely to get hit than somewhere like New York, Beijing, or Moscow. The disproportionate risk from rocket bodies is further exacerbated by poverty, with buildings in the global south typically providing a lower degree of protection, the study authors wrote. And referencing NASA research, the scientists say that roughly 80% of the world's population lives unprotected or in lightly sheltered structures, providing limited protection against falling debris. So how many times have rocket parts hit near populations? Scientists cited 2 times debris from rockets landed back on Earth. Back in 2020, parts of a Long March 5B rocket core stage, which were used to launch an experimental uncrewed capsule.
When did it land? In 2020.
It fell onto 2 villages on the Ivory Coast, damaging buildings but causing
December?
no recorded injuries or fatalities.
2019.
Not sure.
Did it carry a disease?
In April of 2021, another China-made core stage of a Long March 5B rocket body, a piece that weighed nearly 23 tons.
Sorry, what was that? 5G?
5B. It landed in the Indian Ocean. It had been the largest human-made object to do an uncontrolled re-entry. I believe that was in the news. They were kind of talking about it.
I think I remember that as well.
It had been the largest, this last April.
People were pissed about it. The U.S. was pissed about
Yes,
it.
a lot of people were, yeah. This last April, investigators also said parts of another Chinese rocket landed on villages in the state of Maharashtra in the western end of India. Yes, the probability of raining rocket parts causing injury or fatalities is still very small. In an interview with The Independent last year, Harvard astrophysicist Jonathan McDowell gave it a 1 in 7 billion chance that the 18-ton core stage might actually hit anyone. Said McDowell, quote, experts say that it is impossible to predict where those parts of the rocket not burned up on reentry could land.
1 in 7 billion. That I wasn't crazy far off.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like when when you go golfing and there's a group in front of you and they're like just at like the like cusp of like being within range of your shot.
Should I hit yet?
Yeah, should I hit yet or not? Like, I mean, more often than not, I lean towards you should just hit because like you're likely not going to hit.
Especially if you
anyway.
suck at golf.
Right.
Like,
yeah. So like
you're
I'm
going in the
not gonna
trees
hit.
anyway. I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to hit them.
Right. So I'm not worried about teeing off on another group. But like the other thing,
The only thing about that is that the odds are way greater.
They are.
Like significantly. It's probably once every 5 years someone dies on a golf course.
No.
Like at a golf course. At a golf course.
Jared, Google that.
I don't mean
die
at
golf
I don't mean at a golf course on Earth. I mean like
At every golf course?
At every golf course.
No.
Dude, I like, or maybe not dies, but like significant injury.
How many people die getting hit by golf balls? According to the U.S. Sports Medicine Institute, tens of thousands of people seek medical attention for injuries resulting from flying golf balls every year. The extent of these injuries can equal the numbers of football injuries.
Well, I know.
That's a fucking crazy stat.
I fucking told you because I grew up golfing and I knew that every year someone gets hit by a golf ball and gets fucked up.
All right, I'm gonna wait longer to tee off now. But the thing that I was thinking, imagine we were sitting at the Halifax Commons on a nice sunny afternoon, and a rocket body came crashing down onto the grass field, and it didn't hit anybody, but it was close. Would you want to experience that?
What?
Or would you be?
You've asked me a similar version of this question
I'm really
like
curious.
a handful of
curious about
times in the past
experiences.
couple of weeks.
So say everybody was fine.
When we were really high on mushrooms a few weeks ago,
I did ask you,
you
yeah.
asked me if I would want to experience a catastrophic global event
Oh yeah, that's right.
that only affected the other half of the earth.
yeah.
And I couldn't believe that you said yes. It was crazy because I was like, absolutely, I would not. But I'm
I
wondering.
said yes too. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
I did
Okay.
not say yes.
Okay, but my question is, so
We
my point
both
is,
did. Yeah,
No,
we
I
did.
definitely
Yeah,
did.
we
my,
did.
my point is, so you're sitting in the grass field and the rocket part, a small part, comes it's on fire, just crashes, smashes in the ground.
The reality
so
of it
quickly
is
you don't even see it.
it's probably something that's like a square inch.
Totally, but it leaves like a
10-foot
big
crater.
Yeah, right. And so say that everybody was totally fine, nobody got injured. Would you want to experience that?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if no one's getting injured, sure.
Right.
Why
so
not?
you're never going to get the chance to experience that if they start to like regulate this stuff.
Oh, yeah. So you know what? I'm going down. Let's fucking march tomorrow. I'm anti fuselage regulation.
Well, researchers in this
That's my
latest,
stance.
Researchers in this latest study have said that countries are being extremely lax.
No
in their-
more fuselage mandates.
extremely lax in their attitudes towards ship reentry. The U.S. Air Force waived orbital debris mitigation standard practices, which require that the risk of casualty for reentry to be below 1 in 10 million for 37 of 66 launches between 2011 and 2018. So what should nations be trying to do to stop uncontrolled reentries? Through the technology for controlled reentries is becoming, though the technology for controlled reentries is becoming more common, most of these measures cost a lot of money. With the rise of private companies like SpaceX, mandating controlled reentry could become a matter of competitiveness. Still, the authors of the new paper argued that going
Sorry. Were you saying that? Was it saying that SpaceX mandates controlled reentry for all of their craft? Is that what you mean? Is that what that meant?
I think SpaceX does do that. Yeah.
They're saying though,
Yeah.
because it's expensive to do that, then to remain competitive, it might like incentivize companies to not do that because they're trying to save money, obviously.
Still, the authors of the new paper argued that going as far as forcing an international treaty through the United Nations might be necessary. Quote, the states of the global south hold the moral high ground. Their citizens are bearing most of the risks, and unnecessarily so, since the technologies and missions designs needed to prevent casualties exist already, researchers said. I know you guys haven't watched, and you have, but it was a long time ago, Donnie Darko. But in Donnie Darko, a commercial jet engine falls
Mhm.
on the house of Donnie Darko's family, and it lands in Donnie's room.
That's far more common, by
crushes
the
his
way,
bed.
than the
That would be
spaceship
a
shit.
wild way to go.
Mm.
You know, having a rocket just land on you.
Google.
You're not
wouldn't
going
even
to
know.
feel much.
Google aircraft parts falling from the sky because
I know,
that's
I
way
know,
more
I
common.
know frozen shit is a big one.
Really?
They'll dump their fucking shitters up there,
No.
and it freezes and it falls down. Yeah. How many people
There's got to be a
have
regulation on
died
that.
from frozen shit from
feces.
airplanes?
So just to
Feces is
clarify too,
definitely the
like
word to
this
use.
whole article is what you guys are understanding. Like, is it that right now there's very minimal risk? However, with increased, rockets flying through the sky and stuff.
I think it's
and-
basic. I think it's
the-
about keeping the risk at zero.
Yeah, and so that for there to remain for there to continue to be almost no risk, there needs to be a consideration of this in future.
Yeah, I think
Regulation
it's
events.
gonna be crazy rare at any point in the future, no matter how much shit we put up there, just because of the fact that 70% of the surface area of the globe is uninhabited water.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
no matter what, it's always gonna be rare, even if we blanket the skies with shit.
Until it happens.
Probably more
That's
risk.
still that doesn't make it not rare though.
There's
just 'cause
probably
it
more
happens.
other risks
Yeah.
related to putting that much shit in the sky.
Well,
Yeah.
a retired couple got a bolt from the loo when a large chunk of poo smashed a hole in their roof after being flushed from a toilet on a plane. Keith and Ruth Mead were shaken up as urine and feces, which had all frozen as it sped from the jet about 30,000 feet overhead, hit their home with an alarming bang. Ruth, 67, who was in the attic room but escaped unhurt, said, "It was a horrendous noise. I thought someone had crashed into the front of the house. Thank goodness it didn't hit anyone. It could have killed them." Keith was 70. He rushed outside at 9 a.m. thinking there had been a car accident. He saw smashed roof tiles all over the road and a hole about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide in the roof. Fragments of the ball of poo each weighed about 1 pound and were about 7 inches long. So really just like one person's shit.
You know what? That must be what happened this morning outside my apartment building when there was 2 gigantic logs of shit on the sidewalk. It
No.
must have been from a plane because it definitely couldn't have been from somebody who took a shit or let their dog take a shit on the sidewalk. Couldn't have been that.
Yeah. So anyway,
Wait. So, but is this how airplanes work? Really? I didn't.
I don't think. I don't like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's-
I actually
yeah.
don't know. It is kind of.
I feel like they've got to
It
be
is
dumping that shit when
I
they
thought
get
they
to the
had
airport.
like holding tanks or something that they would.
Oh, they definitely do. It
Right?
doesn't just like you don't flush the toilet; it just doesn't get like
Right?
fucking launched out of the plane.
Imagine there was like always like a little bit of like rain that sprinkles down for a second. It's just that's just
It's just-
airplane pee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be rain. It would be hail.
Yeah.
See,
right, 'cause it'd be
now
frozen.
what
Well,
I
it
don't
depends how hot it-
get. I mean, this is opening up a lot of questions. I get that it would freeze once it's up there because it's very cold, but then how does it stay frozen?
Well, I mean,
Why
how
not
does,
cold
hail,
air?
how does hail stay frozen on a summer day?
That is a good question. I have
Oh,
no idea.
the speed. It's traveling faster than
Then it would
the temperature
melt.
is heating it
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Well, let's move along. Nova
is
Scotia.
heavy.
Nova Scotia.
I don't doubt you.
Big news for CFers in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is now covering the expensive cystic fibrosis drug Trikafta for children ages 6 to 11.
Oh,
Mm.
nice.
This comes months after Health Canada approved the use of the drug for that age group in April. Quote, today's news will change the trajectory of the disease and the future for many children and adults in Nova Scotia who live with CF. Kelly Grover, president and CEO of Cystic Fibrosis Canada, said in a press release on Monday.
Hell yeah, Kelly.
Kelly, great woman, eh? She's fucking cool. Nova Scotians over the age of 12 with CF have been eligible for Trikafta since November. Without a provincial program, Trikafta could cost patients as much as $300,000 per year.
Dude,
That's a lot of money.
how heartwarming is that? Considering like one of the things
That's
that
a
I thought
huge. This is a huge
Yeah.
deal.
one thing that
massive.
I thought was really amazing is when we first started this podcast, Jared, seemed like you were getting a lot of emails from parents who had kids with cystic fibrosis, particularly like newborn, like just had kids.
My friend Tracy,
And-
you know, she had a kid born with CF. She reached out to me and was like, I don't know what to fucking do.
I remember you having some of those conversations, and I remember like the sort of like hope for like, oh, this is a different time now than what like you were born into, for example.
And it will go down. Like it will likely go down to, 6 months. Probably. It will probably go down to 6 months at some point in the future. But just even if it didn't, just think about how much different it is to get that treatment 6 years earlier than you could have before.
I got this drug at 6 years old.
Oh my God, you'd almost have almost no damage to your lungs whatsoever
at all. Yeah.
Which is like, I'm thinking of those conversations that you had early on and how those kids are probably like 5, almost 6 years old, and probably like now getting to the point where now they're able to get these treatments.
Think about like just how that conversation is. Like CF when a person that's born with CF today is your age, like this whole conversation, the conversation that we've had about CF for the past fucking decade since I've known you. I mean, CF has always been like CF, fatal disease. Like we've just fucking catapulted CF into a totally different category of disease in the past like 2 years. And that will be something like so many of the things that you had to deal with mentally to try and grapple with growing up as a kid will just not even be in the psyche of kids growing up with Trikafta. And I wonder how much does like the whole thing with the vaccines for COVID being made over the last couple of years and the rushed process, there's definitely some give and take with that. Like there's definitely a positive aspect and a negative aspect to like rushing drugs and like on one hand, I think it showed that we could do things faster than we were doing them. Yeah. And then on the drawback, it's like, well, how fast is too fast and like trying to find the balance there. But just showing that we can move drugs along at a faster pace with a little less bureaucracy with the goal of still maintaining like safety is huge for pharmaceuticals, like life-saving pharmaceuticals in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when Trikafta was approved, just because it was approved doesn't mean it was going to be covered.
Right.
But once it got approved in Canada, the turnaround time for that to get the coverage was like, I think it was like March or April of 2021 to November, which is pretty quick. It was like pretty quick. It went through there was like several hoops it had to go through to get to that point.
It happened fast when it happened.
It did. And I remember when it got approved, I was thinking, okay, so maybe like 2 years from now I'll get it. And I got it that year. Yeah. Like I got it before the year was up.
Though it is, and like that is, I mean, fast relative to how long things like that can take.
Yes.
But also, is that really fast? I mean, I don't entirely understand what's happening during those processes.
I think fast relative to what we expected.
Right. Yeah. But I'm also saying like
the vaccine.
If the, when the drug is proven to be safe, for example, in the United States, but has not been granted like use access here, like it is still annoying how long that can take sometimes when like the science is already established, but the bureaucracy is what takes long, and that's the thing that's like that I find is annoying when there is something available that could save somebody's life or make somebody's life significantly better, yet it's bureaucracy that's slowing it down.
And you got to think about like how many drugs are on the list for Health Canada to look at. And like, imagine how I don't think you could ever hire enough people for Health Canada. Like, even if it was like, hey, you've got a blank check for staff to be able to review these drugs. I think it would, even in that scenario, it would be hard to hire enough people to review pharmaceuticals at the rate at which it would be good to get things through.
I think that's the reason why people are advocating for a rare disease strategy specifically, because like there's not even enough momentum behind some of these groups because there's not enough people, right?
Yeah. So how many people in Canada have CF? Like something like Like
4,000?
Yeah, 3,600, 4,000, somewhere around
in
there.
Canada.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I mean,
not a lot.
imagine that drug comes to Health Canada, and thank God CF has like, I think CF has a good like groundswell of like vocal support. Like it's a disease that I think the average person is at least like heard of, you know, even though relative to the population, not very many people have it. I mean,
190 people in Nova Scotia have the disease. The 3,600 that came from this article. It's estimated that 1 in 3,600 babies in Canada are born with it.
okay.
In total, I think it's 4,000 people ish that have it in Canada.
Right. So
The,
so I mean, imagine some of the diseases that we've talked about that are like less than that or around that same amount. And they are up against, in terms of like those drugs being submitted for review, like drugs that treat those things. Just first of all, just the incentive to try and create a drug for that only treats very few people. So like the return, if you can only put that drug into the hands of 4,000 people in a country that of 35, 40 million people, that's not a huge financial incentive for a profit-driven pharmaceutical company.
No,
you know,
and I think that's part of the rare disease strategy is lobbying these companies to work on specific drugs for these specific diseases that aren't getting the attention that they should, and like, you know, having the government help subsidize some of those efforts. If there's anybody listening who knows more about, you know, the rare disease strategy,
We got a Wednesday episode ready for you. So hit us up.
hit us up.
Here's a really heartwarming story, literally and figuratively. Toronto preteen, the youngest person in Canada to receive a total artificial heart. Multiple heart surgeries and near-death experiences have earned 12-year-old Miriam Tanis the nickname Miriam Miracle, says her mom. And for good reasons. About 1 year ago,
It's kind of a shit nickname.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Should be like
100%.
even like Miracle Miriam would be better than
That would be
Miriam
better.
Miracle.
Yeah.
They need to watch more UFC.
Yeah.
1 year ago, the now thriving preteen became the youngest person in Canada and among the smallest person in the world to receive a device known as a total artificial heart. Her doctors at the renowned Toronto Hospital for Sick Children on Monday detailed their last-ditch measure to save her life when a previous transplant began to fail. It's all the more remarkable because such devices are only made for adults. The machine barely fits inside Miracle Miriam's chest. And after implementation, her surgeon, Dr. Osami Honjo, says he left the cavity open for days because it was just too big to close right away.
Whoa.
You know what's really wild about that is that my girlfriend works at the CVICU, the cardiovascular intensive care unit here in Halifax. And she was telling me the other day about she was during her shift. She had one patient she had to like just sit with. I probably talked about this on the show before, but the guy that she was sitting with had an open heart surgery.
Oh yeah.
But they couldn't close him up for whatever reason. So she just had to sit there and watch this guy who had a fully cracked open, fully open sternum with just like saran wrap over top of it so nothing falls in. Just an open beating heart.
Wow.
And that's her job.
Whoa.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
So she was like watching.
Yeah.
The
She was
heart
like,
just
just got to make sure this guy's like still alive and
Fuck.
nothing
same-
like
That's
falls
crazy.
into his open cavity.
At the same time
And
as
that's Miracle Miriam. That was her for a few days.
at the same time as it's like totally fucking mind-boggling that they can put in a artificial heart.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking crazy. But at the same time, like the heart is a pump. Like it's not like it's kind of like a simple. It's kind of simple, like the way that it works. I think there's like a lot of intricacies to it, but like it is like
From this lay person's perspective.
but it is
very
it
simple.
is like a fairly simple
It's just a
mechanism.
pump.
I mean, dude, it is like if you talk to a like you know what would the doc be, a
Vascular surgeon.
cardiovascular surgeon or somebody who works, you know, with the heart, like they would probably tell you like, yes, it's simple, but it's hard. You know what I mean? Like it's a fairly simple organ. Like you're not trying to replicate something that's like overwhelmingly complicated. It's like,
Yet it is like probably the most important organ.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a pump and it's got 4 chambers in it. And you've just got to make sure that like that the fucking blood comes in and passes through and goes out of the right chambers.
I mean, that's why, like, you know, a lot of med school students right now are like clamoring to get into cardiovascular surgery because they're like, it's fucking easy.
It's easy.
Easy as shit.
No, here's what I mean.
Like,
Here's
you
what
don't
I
They
do
can just be like
nothing.
super hungover
Here's
and
what I
ace
mean.
it every time.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean by that. Like, here's what I mean by that. Doing a handstand, for example, is simple, but it's not easy. Like, you can't. If I said, okay, if I do a handstand, you're probably not going to be able to do a handstand. But if I tried to describe to you what standing on your hands is, it's like it's standing on your hands.
Mm.
It's very simple, but it's not easy to do. And I think the heart
Right.
is like sort of similar in the way that it's not.
It's a pump.
It's simple. It's a pump, but
You know,
it's
kind of
also
like,
very
it's kind of like
hard.
playing darts. Very simple. Throw the dart, get it in the bullseye, which is very small. Very simple. Not so easy. You know, not so easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think that you're leaving out of the equation when you say it's just a pump is that it also is a pump that has to change its pumpiness based on the
Yeah,
situation,
yeah.
based on like the, you know,
Yeah.
like how fast does it
Yeah,
pump? Does
right.
it pump fast based on like, you know, like you're having sex and you need it to pump faster?
I would
or
guess.
like,
I would guess that there's some pretty severe limitations that somebody with an artificial heart has in terms of like their ability to
no contact
Yeah.
sports.
partake in contact sports or sports in general, probably.
Miriam's mother, Linda, recalls many tearful days praying for her daughter's recovery and the elation she felt when she learned Miriam would be okay. She said, quote, "She is a miracle. She's a strong girl. She loves life. She needs to be alive," says the mother, describing a lively, active grade 7 student who loves to swim, collect
Can't
LOL
do that
dolls,
anymore.
and draw.
Yeah, probably not.
What's an LOL doll?
Like probably the new Zillennial version of Beanie Babies,
Hold on. What did you just
LOL
say?
dolls.
Gen Z.
Gen Z is that another? Did you just make that up, or did you read that on TikTok? Did you see that on TikTok?
Zillennials.
Okay, yeah. LOL dolls are like really gross looking Barbies.
Like lol Barbies.
Yeah. Yeah. They're,
Lol.
these, I don't like these.
Larby.
I don't like these.
Miriam was born with 2 forms of congenital heart disease. Epstein's anomaly caused a leaky valve, and cardiomyopathy caused an ill-formed right ventricle. She had open heart surgery at the age of 3 and a heart transplant at age 7. Oh, Jesus. But
Guys, how
but
cute would a 7-year-old heart be?
pretty cute.
That'd be
Yeah,
pretty
probably.
cute, yeah.
But a steady decline at age 11 culminated in a cardiac arrest in June of 2021.
Oh my god.
Antoine Adwar recalls the terrifying day that Miriam suddenly collapsed at home. Her older brother administered CPR while they waited for an ambulance to sick kids.
Did you check her pulse first?
She was resuscitated and stabilized in intensive care,
Oh shit.
but doctors recognized that her heart was giving out. She would need a second transplant, but also time to regain strength, time for her immune system to time for her immune response to subside, and time to find a new organ. So her cardiologist, Dr. Amir Jiwa, says that that led the medical team to the total artificial heart, a device that can essentially replace an entire human heart for a limited period of time. This is unlike other devices, which are designed to hook up to an existing heart to aid its function. It's only been used on 58 patients in Canada so far.
Because like the like
It's not a
external
small amount, I
version of
guess.
that would be like a pacemaker, right?
Yeah,
The pacemaker
like
would
what
then,
Adam
like,
had.
attach to it, and then that would.
Yeah.
That like sends an electrical
Yeah.
signal to tell the heart to pump.
The procedure involves removing the heart's 2 main pumping chambers and replacing them with mechanical pumps that are surgically attached.
So it just
Tubes
pumps.
Tubes run from the pumps out of the chest into a big wheeled console that operates 24/7 outside of the body. So kind of like what Adam had, I think.
yeah, right.
After surgery, Miriam remained sedated on mechanical ventilation for 16 days. During that time, blood and fluid accumulated around the device, requiring another operation. This poor
Whoa.
fucking little girl. Quote, "It was really difficult," says Honjo, "but somehow she eventually stabilized. I can't explain why." A heart for Miriam became available 2 months later, leading to another challenge, removing the device and connecting what amounted to her 3rd heart implant. Now there was no more scarring at the site, and the too large device had compressed a systemic vein, says Honjo. But as a specialist in complex congenital heart surgery for infants, Hanjo was used to tricky operations and says the actual procedure was not as challenging as the broader medical care Miriam required to survive so many interventions.
He said, quote,
he said,
it's
quote,
just a pump.
It's so fucking easy. I was hungover as shit. Don't even worry about it. Miriam has ongoing challenges and will have to take immunosuppressant drugs every day for the rest of her life, although pediatric transplant patients tend to fare much better than adults. Still, transplants are not a cure. They can only extend one's life, says Jiwa, and it's highly likely that Miriam's heart will fail at some point in the future. What's important now is to make sure that Miriam can live the best life she can, he says. Aside from regularly taking medication and seeing a cardiologist, she should be able to do what virtually most kids can do.
Oh, my God.
So
Zaya has a heart appointment today.
yeah,
Wow.
do you think maybe she could like get what you had? You had a fucky heart when you were a kid.
No,
didn't
I
you?
think what when she was born, they like as soon the day after she was born, like a slew of people come in, like a hearing specialist and a heart specialist,
And then
a-
she's
yeah.
like,
they actually
good.
they actually put some
Just
device.
come right up to her and go.
I can't remember. I don't know what it does. I can't remember. I probably asked, but I was so sleep deprived that I can't remember. But they put like some device in her ear and like play some frequency and I don't know. I don't know what I think they might be able to monitor. They might be able to sense the vibration that like returns from like something in the ear that they can test that the ear works. Anyway, a slew of people. One of them said that they heard the heart doctor said that they heard a murmur, which is basically like a whooshing sound of like in your heart. So like instead of like a boom boom, it's like a
There's a ghost in
it
her
has
heart.
something to do with like the blood not flowing.
She's got a haunted
correctly.
heart.
And then we set up a thing, but they were like, well, it will probably go away on its own, and it has since gone away. But because of just the public health,
It's funny because whenever I
been a
see
long
her,
wait.
it looks like her heart just doesn't beat.
Right.
She's just like,
Yeah, dude, when she was laying on the table here
fucking-
last
yeah.
week.
yeah, that was called sleeping.
yeah, same. Here's an interesting and really stupid story. A sex toy day keeps the doctor away. The medical uses of dildos and vibrators. Now, this is the cool part. The stupid part is Alabama.
Dude, so I shared this article, but I was also listening to this article through the Curio app, written by, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, but it was about how in Alabama, sex toys are illegal.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
So dumb. So earlier this week,
Why?
the Supreme Court declined to hear a 9-year-old case challenging Alabama's ban on the sale of sex toys. What a bunch of losers, dude. What a bunch of fucking losers.
Guys, the states. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm listening from the U.S., but your country
Is
I'm not
fucking
saying, and I'm
silly.
And I'm not saying that Canada is some fucking shining
No.
light on the hill, but your country is on fire.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
The state law prohibits the distribution of any device designed or marketed as useful primarily for the stimulation of human genital organs for anything of pecuniary value.
Mhm.
The law, though, does make exemptions for, this is really funny, it does make exemptions for a bona fide medical, scientific, educational, legislative, judicial, or law enforcement purpose. So
Is that like a
are they
naughty
using
cop?
dildos as clubs to like club the fucking bad guys?
Yeah.
Like what's going on?
This other article that was like supplementary to this was profiling this family that owns a sex toy store
In
and how they
Alabama?
were operating under the guise of, they were like, hey, this is for pleasure. However, legally we have to say that this is educational.
Yeah, legally we have to say that this is
So-
for law enforcement that are looking for wacky and sexy, kinky weapons.
So all of the imagery on the product packaging had to be like modified to be like fully clothed people
Yeah,
and
right.
like Like everything had to change to like imply that it was for educational use only, but it was obviously still a sex toy.
What medical purposes do sex toys serve? Well, strengthening muscles, for one thing. Women who suffer from incontinence or a prolapsed uterus can exercise their pubococcygeal muscles, not to mention having more satisfying orgasms. Ooh, that's bad. By doing Kegels. Those muscles get an even better workout if you use weighted barbells, balls, and spring-loaded devices.
Shit.
Men with prostate disorders might use a dildo to massage themselves and drain the built-up fluid. Definitely just for that and not for jizzing, okay?
The built-up fluid in their nuts.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Some doctors, however, believe this can be dangerous, especially if the patient has an acute bacterial infection or prostate cancer. Some healthcare professionals also believe that women can hasten recovery from surgeries like cesarean sections with the help of sex aids, which increase blood flow. While sex toys are often used recreationally, they can also improve sexual function for people with certain medical conditions. Diabetes and multiple sclerosis, for instance, affect nerve transmission, which can dull sexual sensation. People taking medications for high blood pressure and depression can also suffer from side effects that limit sexual response. And women who undergo hormonal changes during menopause or who suffer nerve damage after surgery sometimes find their clitorises to be less sensitive. A sex toy might be necessary to increase arousal, which is interesting because it's like, okay, you know, according to the state, they're banning any device designed as useful primarily for the stimulation of human genital organs. But if you are taking antidepressants and you're having like a hard time with arousal, they're like, okay, fine. You can fucking blast yourself with a fucking rabbit vibrator. But like if you're not on those antidepressants, you better leave that pussy alone.
Yeah, like that's when it becomes like a health issue. When it can help with that, then okay, fine.
Which I'm sure if you had a cool doctor, you could be like, hey, like,
oh, I'm sure.
I want a fucking vibrator, dude. Can you just
it was like
say like I'm
it's just
it was like
all it
medical
does-
medical marijuana licenses. When
it's just causing a headache.
But the other big one that wasn't mentioned there, that this other article was talking about was the aging population and how elderly women in particular who, you know, have maybe, so there was an example of one woman who had a partner that passed away and then started, you know, dating somebody else in the senior living home that they were in, and they wanted to engage in sexual intercourse, but their vagina was so tight that they couldn't. So they went in to get vaginal dilators, and so dilators were like a really important thing for them being able to like even.
Which I don't think dilators would fall under a sex toy.
But they're that's where they're
probably
sold,
sold
right?
at
Like
sure,
so, like
sure,
so.
sure,
Imagine
sure.
where else do you sell?
Right, I
them?
suppose,
Like where are they sold? And so
Amazon.
I mean, probably at Steph's clinic. You know, you go to a physiotherapist, they probably have them.
Yeah.
100%. But even like endometriosis or PV. What was the? There's so many PVD. Yeah.
Provoked vestibule dynia.
Vestibulodynia.
For men, doctors might recommend a penis pump, though it is possible to buy one without a prescription.
Last one, there's a penis pump.
For women, there are devices like the Euros, which is basically a pump for the clitoris. The handheld device features a small cup that pulses and sucks to enhance blood flow to the clitoris.
Say that again.
Euros?
No.
Pulses and
socks to
It sounds
enhance blood
fun.
flow to the clitoris.
It does sound fun.
It does sound hot. More blood flow to the area increases arousal, which in turn helps the body lubricate itself and makes sex more pleasurable.
Isn't it crazy at Alabama was just basically like this is a no fun state?
Dude, it's so unfathomable that a group of adults just thought that this was a useful use of legislative government time.
Guys, but you can own guns.
Yeah.
But like guns are cool.
Guns are, for them. I mean, it depends who you talk to. Guns can be fun when, you know, they're not shot at a bunch of fucking innocent people. And you're just shooting, you know, skeet shooting or something.
But
the
you
crazy
shot a
thing-
gun, dude. Guns are fun.
I don't disagree with that. But the crazy thing is that they've decided one thing is okay and this other thing that is not anything like, you know, dangerous.
Well,
or
you know what?
They're just
why?
asking for people to be like, well, I can't get a dildo, but I got this fucking long rifle, so I might as well shove that up in me.
Founding fathers didn't
Wow.
say. The founding fathers didn't say anything about dildos.
This is interesting.
That's because they didn't need to. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're literally like, whoa, guys, we didn't put it in the Constitution because we didn't think it needed to be legislated.
I actually didn't know this. Vibrators were invented as medical equipment for treating female hysteria.
That's a dated concept.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, she's hysterical. Give her a vibrator. So is selling a sex toy always illegal in Alabama? Probably not, since the statute focuses on how a device is designed and marketed. Something that's used as a vibrator isn't marketed for erotic play might be legit. The Hitachi magic wand, for instance, one of the most popular vibrators in existence, and wasn't made for a vibrator.
Hitachi makes it?
Yeah. So the Hitachi magic wand was
like Hitachi, like the Japanese
Yes.
electronics brand.
It wasn't made as a vibrator. It was made as a personal massager, but it has now become
Personal pussy massager.
It has become the number one sex toy in the world. Because it is, as I'm sure it's great for massage, but it is real great for revving up your.
Is that the one that
hoo-ha.
has the bulb at the top?
Yeah, that's right. And now there's like hundreds of sex toys that are
Look the same.
recreations of the Hitachi wand.
Once
but,
the patent ran out.
But
Knockoffs.
but the magic wand still today, a lot of people feel like is the superior version of the wand.
Wingardium Leviosa.
You know what I would love to hear? I would love to hear a defense of this. Like I would love to hear the intellectual defense of this legislation.
I mean, it's probably as fully fucking ridiculous as the defense for Roe v. Wade, like tearing down Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I just want to hear. I just want to hear somebody try to like rationally explain why it exists.
Yeah.
Like I'd just be fascinated
Because
by
we
it.
can't have these fucking women out there like realizing the power of their pussy.
No.
You know, like that's it. Like we can't have a bunch of wet pussies walking around Alabama
patriarchy.
making the
Absolutely
fucking sidewalks slippery and shit. Come on. Like we'd have to invest in so many, floor is wet signs and be putting those
Dude, you know what the
We can't
crazy
be
thing
doing
about this, and it's similar to Roe v. Wade and with something like this, is that I bet you at the same time as somebody could support this legislation and support overturning Roe v. Wade, at the same time, they would probably look at Saudi Arabia and be like, I can't believe what they do over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And hold those two opinions at the exact same time, which are so conflicting.
The thing that I don't understand is if even if you felt so strongly that you didn't want to use a sex toy, who are you to say that somebody else can't make their own decision about
No, I mean
that?
it's like sodomy laws. You know, it's
It
like,
doesn't affect anybody else.
But dude, that's the thing about red states is that they hold super conflicting positions because at the same time, the like overarching Republican ethos is like individuality and individual freedom.
Freedom
and at
of
the
choice.
same time, it is red states and red state laws that prohibit the choices that individual people make. It's
we should have freedom.
It's so weird.
Fully and autonomous freedoms to make the decisions that we want, except when those decisions are in conflict with our values, then you can't have your freedom.
It's so weird. It's so strange.
It is funny how like those red states were all like raw fucking government. Like we're all about the government, follow the government. And then vaccines came out and they're like, don't you fucking tell us what to do, government.
I mean, that's more in line with the general ethos of red states in
it
general.
is just kind of silly.
Because I mean, if you're talking about Republican, Democrat, and like the large, like sort of like the overarching themes that they follow in like the most broad sense, one is Democrat is bigger government can solve the problem, and Republican is smaller government, reduce the government's role in your.
But it's
I
also
think Bill-
the government's role is to protect the conservative ideals.
I think Bill
too.
Burr actually made a joke about that in his new special about the about like
Oh, yeah,
freedom and like fucking like American American patriotism, America fuck
Except
yeah,
the
and then
government.
except wait, the government's telling me to get a needle, fuck you. Here's a really interesting lawsuit. Uber settles a U.S. lawsuit over disabled riders and vows to waive fees.
Dude, this was crazy.
This is craziness. Uber Technologies Inc. Uber
Uber's a bad company.
We'll pay more than $2 million and waive wait time fees for disabled passengers to settle U.S. allegations that the rideshare company had violated the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Department of Justice said on Monday. So as part of a 2-year agreement, Uber will waive wait time fees for certified disabled riders and pay $1,738,500 to more than 1,000 riders who complained about the charges and $500,000 to others harmed by the practice, the department said. So people who were disabled called Ubers. The Ubers would show up. But because they're disabled, whether they're using a wheelchair or some other like aid in mobility, took them longer to get to the rides and to get into the rides and set up in the rides. The Ubers were then charging them wait time fees because of this. And they were going, but we are disabled. It's like, it's bound to take us longer to hop in your fucking ride than, Johnny 2 Feet over here, who's just like walking up and slipping in.
I think
all these people are like, what the fuck, Uber? Like,
yeah, I think this is a good example of a technology company setting up a structure in code and how things are programmed and not seeing all the angles and going, I'm just imagining like the like brainstorming session about like how they're going to incorporate, like, what do we do when people take longer to get to the car? and they're thinking about, and they're not thinking about people with disabilities. They're thinking about people who are not disabled and going, well, we need to incorporate this thing. So we're going to incorporate it. And they don't incorporate exceptions to the rule.
But the challenge is,
I'm not saying
the way
that's
they
okay.
think
I'm just saying that I don't think. That
this is
the reason why
this is no different than like accessibility issues in a city.
Yeah,
the,
totally.
the reason why that problem exists though is because really to you, the passenger, you're not Uber's client. Uber's client are the drivers. So they if they don't satisfy the drivers and have the drivers to go and pick up the people, then the people then they won't be able to offer the service to the people. So I understand that like they have 2 clients. Yes, the person actually taking the ride is also a client, but like they also have to view their drivers as clients. So they're looking at like, well, how do we incentivize them to drive? Well, they're not going to be very happy if they're sitting around waiting and not being able to collect a fee for that. So they do that without the consideration of the people that actually affects.
But there's also
there's
also an inherent issue with saying that if you are a certified disabled within the Uber app, like whether you probably have to submit something that says, that you have XYZ condition or disability.
I've never seen that in the app though.
I haven't seen it either, but it mentioned certified in that article. It mentioned certified disability. So I would imagine that there's some sort of like the same way that you would need a placard on your car to park in disabled spaces, you probably need something like that. But then if a driver, and this is the same conversation that we were having about like women saying, oh, I'm pregnant, and whether they should be like the conversation around employers being privy to your pregnancy situation, and when is it appropriate for an employer to know, and how does that information influence the decisions that an employer makes for hiring somebody who is pregnant or can become pregnant? It's like
it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Exactly, it shouldn't. But it does, and that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
And so with somebody who has like has some type of like disability certification within the Uber app, and the driver knows that there's no wait time fee applied to this person, is that going to incentivize drivers to just not pick up people with disabilities? And like, how do you fix that? And like,
totally,
it's a complicated. It's fucking complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it, like with Uber drivers, I believe this is how it works. Like it's up to them. Like they make the decision to pick you up. They're not assigned to you.
Yeah.
Like they choose you.
They do. But the problem is, my problem with Uber is that they also treat their drivers like shit too. because
They're very
there's such a
problematic
high
company.
demand
Yeah.
of drivers anyway. People just looking to make extra money. So
Remember when Uber started and Uber drivers were fantastic? And they were like giving you water and they would give you an aux cord to plug your phone in and listen to your music.
I had an Uber driver pick me up, and he didn't charge me. He made all I had to do was put on a leather glove, and he offered me weed, and then he started jerking off. But I mean, whatever. I was
free.
I got a free
Yeah.
glove.
It was free.
I got a free glove,
And the ride was free.
and the ride was free.
and he didn't touch you.
No,
Yeah.
he just wanted me to wear the glove, and they
That's
let me drive the car for a bit while I was wearing the glove.
Just letting you know,
And,
that's problematic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And for people who don't know what I'm talking about there, just Google Halifax glove guy.
And you will be
Shocked.
entertained.
Speaking of hot stuff, it's we're looking at heat waves. Heat wave in Toronto right now. It's real hot. It's a dangerous time to be someone who lives in a place that doesn't have AC. Dangerous time for people living with schizophrenia. We actually learned this, that
right.
a lot of schizophrenics have a hard time and sometimes find themselves dying in the heat with heat waves hitting cities across the nation. And I guess across the
Western Europe is like super crazy.
It's
fucking globe.
predicted that over 1,000 people will die this week in Europe from the heat wave.
Well, check this fucking story out. This blew my mind. Saw this on Reddit earlier. This is about the rough work conditions that UPS drivers face in high heat.
We're learning more about that alarming video of a UPS guy in distress from the extreme heat. He struggles to make it onto the
guy's
front
hurting.
porch. Then he collapses, overwhelmed by the 110-degree temperature in Arizona. He has to lie down for a moment to recover. Slowly, he gets back up again and reaches for the doorbell before stumbling back to his truck.
I don't know if he laid down
It's
there.
just a sickening feeling that you don't know what's going to happen to that guy if he goes to the next house or to his truck.
Homeowner Brian Enriquez says he was shaken when he saw what his ring
Dude, the guy
camera had
walks
captured.
back to his
You
truck.
can see in the video, he's looking at his hands, shaking his hands. I mean, he could have a mini stroke or anything.
You may be surprised to hear that UPS trucks have no air
How the
conditioning.
fuck is
It
that?
feels so freaking hot back here.
Drivers are taking to social media to share their extreme working conditions. This guy is drenched in sweat.
To get air through the truck, the best way is we always leave the doors open.
We rented a UPS truck to experience what drivers
Of
endure.
course, guys in a full suit.
UPS drivers call these trucks the box, and there's a reason. They literally bake in the sun. This one's been parked for a while. Outside, we're registering 95 degrees, but inside, we're approaching 120.
That's hot.
UPS says the driver on that Arizona video is fine today, adding, "Our package delivery vehicles make frequent stops, making air conditioning ineffective. Across the nation, the heat is on."
We're talking about all-time records, like we have never, in recorded history, in centuries, seen this type of heat.
Check out the forecast in Houston.
We got triple digits in the forecast.
Look at all those hundreds.
It's going to feel like you're standing inside of a hairdryer.
The extreme weather
Oh my
sparked
God.
severe thunderstorms and flooding in New York, where a massive sinkhole swallowed a van.
Oh, whoa. Holy fuck.
In the United Kingdom, they're seeing temperatures of 100 degrees plus for the first time ever. They've literally never experienced this before in recorded history, going back 363 years. And only 5% of the homes there are air conditioned versus 90% of the homes here in the States.
So for
London's forecast
context,
is 99. It goes from Paris all the way down into
110
Spain.
degrees
We
Fahrenheit
spoke
is
to AccuWeather
43
meteorologist
degrees
Christina
Celsius.
Shalhoub.
Dude,
Just
that
to put
is
it in
So that
perspective for you,
that day
London
that
at
guy
this time of
collapsed
year,
on the
the
front
average
porch,
high temperature
it
is
was
70
almost
Dude,
45
I was
degrees.
when
So
I
they're
was
seeing a
when we
departure
were
of
doing
about
our yoga
33
trainings in Bali
degrees
before the
in
pandemic.
just one
I would
day.
take my
In
bike
France,
and
it's being
and
called the heat
I
apocalypse.
would try to get
One
out in the
farmer in
morning
Spain
because
was
it's so
forced to
fucking hot
flee,
there.
his
But
clothes
if I couldn't
on
get out in
fire.
the morning,
Terrifying
I made
signs of the time.
fucking dumb
and
decision a
perhaps
handful of
our
times
future.
to go out at like 10, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's like 37, 38 degrees, but like with crazy humidity, the feel like is
Yeah.
like 44, 45.
What is the fucking deal with that?
It's
Can we
the-
just talk about that
It's
for a
just
second?
the way that
I
humidity.
know, no, I get it. I understand. But why? Why not just say what it feels like? I mean, like we are. That's how I register temperature by how it feels. Like, so what are we doing with like that?
That's
Well,
a
it's
good
actually
question.
29,
Right.
but it feels like 38. It's like, then just call it 38.
Right,
bro.
because if you went outside, so for example, say there was a phenomenon where the temperature outside was 20 degrees Celsius, but there was some sort of air phenomenon that made it feel like it was 0 degrees. What is the value in telling you that it's 20 degrees
Call
outside?
it 0, bro.
Because it's fucking
Call
0.
it 0.
Well, it
It's
actually.
freezing.
Well, here I'll theorize one thing. Inanimate objects don't experience the feel like temperature. So if it's like
That's cool.
So
do you think a rock gives a flying fuck with the temperature?
No,
but
but
also can't watch the news.
No, but it could be something like I'm totally just making examples up, but like in like Western provinces in the winter, when it goes down to like crazy temperatures, they have to plug in their cars overnight if they're parked outside because they need to keep the engine block like warm enough so that it doesn't they can use their car. And so if the temperature is like not cold enough for them to need to do that, but the feel like temperature is cold enough for them to have to do that, they don't have to do it, even though it feels way colder than it is. That's a dumb example, but like, do you know what I mean? The car doesn't experience the same temperature. So like temperature could affect buildings and infrastructure in a way and not affect them, but the feel like temperature could be
they
warmer.
should lead with feels like.
Yeah, and here's
here's
my point. I don't fucking care about that. And nor does my body.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, like infrastructure.
You know what's crazy though is
infrastructure doesn't care.
Man,
the people that pay for infrastructure, which is you and which is me, does care.
Yeah, but I don't.
So the interesting thing to me is that when I lived in Dubai in the summers, it was 50 degrees Celsius every day, all the time. And like, they're never like, it's 130 degrees outside today. Like they don't, because it's that way every day.
Yeah.
But they're also, systems in place to handle it.
It's built for that temperature.
Like you go from your air conditioned car to your air conditioned house and like to your air conditioned office, and there's basically air conditioning everywhere, and basically nobody goes outside in the summer. But also there's probably not like UPS.
I'll tell you right now, UPS drivers over there, I bet you they're driving fucking Tesla trucks that are
cold
as shit.
Actually like the majority of people who do those type of jobs are like slave labor.
I mean, why doesn't UPS just drive ice cream trucks in the summer?
That's a good idea.
Pop those fuckers in an ice cream truck. Have a nice cool back.
Do you think an ice cream truck is actually cold inside?
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, it's cold inside the ice cream part.
Yeah,
yeah. But are you gonna get in the ice cream
not
part?
not an ice cream truck, but like a meat truck.
Right?
Like a refrigerated truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's only in the back. It's not where you drive it.
Yeah, but you open that fucking door up on the side there behind you, and that cool air just kind of rushes up in the front.
Dude, why aren't these companies hiring Jeremy?
Why are these companies hiring
to
robots?
Strategize.
I'm available. Let's go on to this week's edition of What the Hell? This is a letter. We got a letter
right on
from Sarah. Hi, guys. I've been a patron for quite a while. Thank you, Sarah. But I feel old anytime I look at Discord, so I'm sending you a plain old email.
Just by the way, you don't have to feel old looking at Discord. There's a lot of fucking
geriatrics up in there.
But don't be intimidated by all the glizzies.
Yeah. I was listening to your Friday episode where you discussed vabbing, which we covered last week, which is all about sticking your fingers up into your lady parts, into your vagine, and wiping the vagine juice on your neck to try to attract a mate.
It's like cologne, vagina cologne.
And
perfume.
that gave Sarah a good chuckle. Brian wondered if it would work if people with penises did it. And my guess is fuck no. I added the fuck.
That would also be my guess.
July 6th, 2022 marked the first day of Jizz Tree season here in Vancouver. I thought this was a joke. It's not. I know this because I sent a happy first day of Jizz Tree season vomit emoji text to a couple of friends. Just around the corner from my house, there is a tree that smells horrible every July. If you Google Jizz Tree, you will get a few suggestions, but our tree happens to be a Chinese chestnut.
You know what's crazy about this is when I read that part
I love
of
that nut
Sarah's
is a
email,
part of the tree that smells like cum.
That's really funny. When I read that part of Sarah's email, I thought like I thought that she meant that it was just a thing with her friend group.
Yeah.
And then when she said to Google it, I actually Googled it.
Oh, I got the
and
article here.
There's a bunch of articles about jizz tree season.
This tree also happens to be en route. I have to walk daily. And honestly, I try to hold my breath as long as possible on that block. My friend and I were laughing about it one day, and a random stranger said, the semen tree, right? There's even a scholarly article about it that Jeremy might enjoy reading. All of this to say, if I caught a whiff of this smell on someone's wrist and neck in a club, I would run the other way. I can't wait until jizz tree season is over. So,
you know what the most remarkable part of that entire email was? Yeah, remarkable.
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 Yeah, remarkable is great.
You know what the most remarkable part of that entire article was, or email was that she said that here's a scholarly article that Jeremy might enjoy.
I mean, hey, and you know what? I do read a lot of scholarly articles for this, for these episodes. Don't know what the fuck I'm reading, and so when I read those articles, I just Google Vice articles that might have covered it, and then talk about that, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. This is from Vice. Here's why the trees on your street smell like semen. You know the smell, and this is funny. It says you know the smell. I actually don't know the smell of cum.
You do know it. Well, you can't smell, so that's why you don't know.
That's it. And I don't have a lot
I know
of
the
cum.
smell, but I couldn't describe it to you. Like I know it, but I couldn't. Like there's a dampness.
It's
There's
more
a dampness
like
to it.
I know the sex smell. I know the smell of sex.
Kind of smells like a basement.
I know the smell of anal sex.
Yeah.
That my nose can pick that up. They say it's that chlorine
Cheers
musk.
got a nose for anal.
It's that chlorine musk that reminds you of either narrowly dodging a pregnancy or being a 15-year-old boy. But it's a weird thing to be walking down the street on an early spring afternoon and get a nose full of jizz. You're looking around like, what is that? The answer is trees. That cummy smell comes from a flowering deciduous tree called the Prius caloriana, better known in Australia as the ornamental pear or the celery pear in the US. Originating from China, they became the urban designer's tree of choice in the 1950s because they're small, neat, and produce cute white flowers. Ornamental pears now line city streets around the globe, although they've fallen out of fashion in Australia and the US because they tend to self-germinate in vacant blocks and, as mentioned, the jizz thing. So what's the smell? Basically, they smell like that to attract insects. Quote, anytime plants emit fragrances, it's typically to attract pollinators, and that's why what the pear is doing as well, explained John Mergel, a horticulturist in Denver. Quote, we normally associate sweet smells with trying to attract bees, but a lot of plants all over the world use really terrible smells in order to attract beetles and flies as pollinators.
I was going to say the bad smells, because when I think of plant smells, I like first jump to like flowers
Roses,
and like really pretty smells.
Daffodils.
And those are like
lilies.
Those smells attract like
rhododendrons.
the like beautiful like insect creatures. You get like really cool, like even like outside of the insect family, you get like hummingbirds and shit like that. But then the cummy smell, like I would imagine that would attract like
the shitty bugs,
like the
Slugs.
the bottom of the rung, like the shittiest bugs in the bug kingdom.
And dogs.
Flying ants.
like dirty ass beetles and shit like that.
Well, I mean,
the disgusting ones.
I mean, dude, like creatures love shit smells.
They do, yeah. In the world of chemistry, these smells are known as volatile amines, which basically means they're molecularly similar to ammonia. In the case of the ornamental pear, what you're smelling is trimethylamine, and dimethylamine, both of which smell like ammonia. And the twist in the story is that there is ammonia in cummy. And just because we're here talking about semen, I want to raise something personal for a moment. And that's how whenever anyone brings up semen trees, some sort of dude always and invariably says, ha ha ha, how do you know what semen smells like? Which is what I said. But I actually don't know. You might have experienced this yourself, but I want to just quickly clarify that all people, those dudes who know exactly what semen smells like, and they know because they all spent long, fevered years exploring. And I know this because I was there, being one of them. For many of us, semen was a phase. And there was even a stranger phase when some guys in high school were tasting their own just to see. I actually tasted my cum the other day just to see what it tasted like. And I was quite surprised.
I can't say that I've ever
I don't
felt the urge to
No.
like play with, explore,
No.
or smell or taste.
I've
my
always
cum.
been quite revolted by it.
Yeah.
I lapped it up. I had some in my hand and I just went, and I went, lip, and I licked it up. And it didn't taste. It tasted very different from what I
I don't
thought.
mean to pass judgment, but that is horrific.
I don't mind.
I mean,
I don't
know,
think
fucking
so.
People that I spend a lot of time with.
I know.
Put it in their mouth.
I know. I
Right.
get it.
Yeah.
I get
So
it.
I said it's not fair.
And
if I
how
don't-
can I find that so attractive, but yet be like disgusted by it when it's like
It's my own
near
cum,
my
dude. It's
mouth?
not
See,
yours.
like guy cum versus
not like mine.
female cum versus guy cum though. Like I'm
tastes
like,
very different. Very different taste.
yeah. Okay. Well, then that makes
Very
sense
different.
why I would like one and not the other.
Well,
Suppose.
you probably wouldn't, but you might like the taste of cum. You know what it tasted like? It tasted like an oyster.
I'm flattered that you would say that about me because I like that you consider me to be an open person that might be interested.
No, he said
in
it's because
the
it's
taste of it.
because he said it's a seafood
It's
thing.
a seafood thing. Yeah, it's a seafood thing.
I don't like seafood.
Tay doesn't like seafood.
I'm going
you
to take
do.
that the other way.
Yeah, it tastes like like a sushi. Salty, a lot saltier than I thought.
Wow. What
Thank
about,
you for sharing.
But you didn't have pineapple before,
I
right?
didn't, and I don't know.
Is
if
that true?
I don't know, but I'll
Really?
try it. I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll try it this week, and we'll talk about it next week.
Oh God!
Okay.
See, like that, like dude, that makes me go. Whoa.
I think
I'm gonna go to the superstore, buy a bunch of pineapple. I'm gonna cum all over myself tomorrow, and I'm gonna lap it up, and I'll tell you guys all about it.
Jared, well, when you say lap it up, that's really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Like a
But,
dog,
say- Oh
like
God!
you know how dogs like flick
Yeah.
water with
Yeah,
their tongue.
yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
But
Oh
the
my
thing that
God.
I'm curious about is if your cum was the consistency of like mine or Taylor's, would you still be interested in tasting it? Like,
I don't care. I don't fucking
like-
care.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting road
Mine's
that we've
more-
gone down.
I almost licked his fucking fungus toe
For
When did you
money.
do
For
that?
money. What?
Oh, when we were away on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't because I just read about that kid that died from eating the slugs.
Yeah,
so-
I mean,
Would
you
you
don't wanna
would
get a
you
fungus.
taste my cum?
no.
Why?
Because I don't have interest. Because I don't have interest in it.
What's the difference between yours versus mine?
This
I-
has
I-
gone in
I-
such a crazy direction.
I wouldn't let you piss on me, but I piss on myself in the shower every day. You know, it's my own. It's my own funk. Like I'm down with my own stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like the smell of your farts. I can't get enough of mine.
Well, that's a biological phenomenon.
And back
Is
to
that-
the back to the cum, same thing.
Dude, definitely,
Biologically, I am cool with drinking my own cum.
yeah, it doesn't. Don't say drinking, dude. Don't say drinking.
No, continue to say lapping it up.
I'm cool with gargling my
Don't
jism.
say gargling. Don't say gargling. Don't
All right,
say
back,
jism.
back to the trees. It's worth noting that smelly plants are fairly common. There's an entire subset of stinky plants called carrion flowers or corpse flowers, which mimic the stench of decay to attract bugs that usually feast on rotting animals.
the most repugnant bugs.
Indonesia has produced many of the favorites,
Repugnant.
including Amorphophallus titanium, which has a long proboscis-like structure that heats up to further disperse its smell. Another example is the Bulbophilium, which is a kind of orchid found throughout Latin America and Asian Pacific. These guys are beautiful, but their scent is said to range from urine and blood all the way through to something sweet and fruity, kind of like wine. Closer to home now, the good news is that ornamental pear trees won't stink for that much longer. As John Mergel explained, most bloom for just 2 weeks. And if a tree is in a warmer exposed site, it could already be flowering. So enjoy the jizz smell while you can. Like memories of adolescence, the smell of semen in trees is fleeting.
Wow.
God, I hope more fleeting.
That was something.
That was something.
It was. And thank
you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you want to support the podcast, you can do what Sarah is not doing and come on over to our Discord. Don't worry. There's no age gap or limit, rather. There could be an age gap if Sarah joins, but no limit. So so come on over. The link is in the show notes below, and lots of fun conversations happen over there. But if you're not into that, of course, like Taylor will say in a moment, you can email us. And if you want to support the podcast further, you can leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, or just leave a rating on Spotify. We'd love to see that. You can do that on your phone, on the Spotify mobile app.
Yeah, and if you are a Luddite and you prefer to stick to the tried, tested, and true method of email, you can send us a story or a thought or a suggestion to talk about on the show to letters@sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to sickboypodcast.com/contact, fill out the form.
If you're a true Luddite, you can send us some, you can post us some snail mail.
Yeah.
But we're not going to give out our address.
If you're just a
I
new
suppose.
age Luddite.
Yeah.
Because Luddite, because the term Luddite has got to change over time, right?
Right,
As we get more technologically advanced.
That's true. Also, as of the release date of this episode, we have one more week of Lawn Summer Nights. And so if you want to donate to our Lawn Summer Nights team, we'll put the link in the show notes to this episode.
Dude, we're on the way to the ship.
We are,
Lawn Summer Nights.
We're probably going to win.
Crushed it last week. Won both games. One of our games we won by such a staggering amount that the people that run the event, the lawn bowling folks that are probably a lot older than Sarah, they were impressed.
Yeah, they said we've never seen this before.
Yeah, they also gave me a tip that changed my game completely. So thank you for that.
That's amazing.
There we go.
Also, if you're in Halifax, Lawn Summer Nights that happened yesterday, I spoke at it. So if you weren't there, too bad.
And also stay tuned. Make sure you're listening to these parts. If you're still listening right now, make sure you continue to listen to these parts of our episodes because we do have some show dates coming up.
We do.
Some live shows.
We do. Vancouver, we're coming to you September 21st. Tickets are going to go on sale probably next week. And Calgary, we're coming to you as well. And that's going to be really fun. That's September 24th.
And Edmonton, if you make enough noise, we'll consider coming to.
Yeah.
Well, and enough noise, like one email.
Yeah. And we'll do it.
Yeah. We're working on people in Edmonton. We're working on gathering. We don't have a date. Well, sorry, we don't have a venue yet. But we are working on specifically to get a show on the 19th. So if we do a show in Edmonton, it'll be on September 19th.
That's it. And thanks to the folks who make this show happen. A huge thank you to Donovan Morgan for the sound design on our Monday episodes, to Rich O'Coin for the theme music on these episodes, and to Jeff Lonis for being our man at the helm. We love you.
Our daddy.
Yeah, daddy at the helm.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.